Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of Full Send. This is the place where we talk about different sim comps, those are simulation marble competitions, and give our opinions on different teams, how the seasons are going, etc. I'm joined here for episode number 1 by the one and only Fire Marble. Say hi, Fire.
Hi, Fire.
Perfect.
If you are unfamiliar with my work, you can find my channel over at Fire Marble Films, and yeah, that's about all I have to say. Go
Yep,
Team
Fire
Fire!
makes some very cool documentary sort of things, mostly JMR, but also a custom comp every once in a while. So if you're interested in that, go check him out there. Today we are going to be
That's
doing
right.
power rankings for MSFL Marble Simulation or Sports Franchise League Season 5. Fire, do you want to kick us off with your first honorable mention? We're going to do.
Sure, I will kick us off. I actually have three honorable mentions for my top five, but I have a hunch that one or both of the other ones you will mention. So I will say my first, then you will say, and if you mention one of mine, I'll say the final one. My first mention, my first honorable mention, sorry, for the top five will go to the Thanatons, the only expansion team that I think is anywhere near this discussion. This team has really, really impressed me because I think the kind of narrative with expansion teams is it's really hard for expansion teams to be good straight out the gate. But this team, even though most of them are filled with veterans, they built up a very impressive team. They don't really have a clear speedster, but with only two speed events, sorry, on the schedule, that shouldn't be much of an issue. And the team captain Hawk, I would definitely say, is one of the better captains in the league, and just a very well-rounded team with a bunch of marbles that flow together very nicely. Showmaker and Faint will most likely split the two speed events. Lucifer as the first round pick. They'll likely compete in a couple of events for them. And then a bunch of grizzled veterans, Anchor and Force, Shinedown. We haven't really heard much from these marbles in recent years. Raven as well. We haven't really heard much of them in recent years, but they all fill a certain role and they all play it well. And I'm very excited to see what this expansion team can do in year one. I think this will be a team that starts out a bit slow, but really picks up steam as the year goes along.
Fair enough. Yeah, the Thanatons are definitely the best expansion team, as you said. Solid there. They might be able to make a push for top 5 if they get a little RNG in there. But yeah, good pick for your first honorable mention. I'm going to go with mine now. My first honorable mention is Starry Sky. Never count out the Starry Sky. Once
Of
again,
course.
Skylight and, of course, Henman Yeet, but I think mostly Skylight has been brains behind this operation, has amassed, assembled, I guess I should say, a very solid team. They got Gaia in free agency. They got Blink, as always, on the front lines there for most of the events. They just have a very solid roster. There's a couple of events mid-season, I believe, or actually early season, events 3 and 4, block pushing and distance drag, where they do not really have anyone doing much of anything productive. They're probably going to be bottom 3 in both of those events. Relay as well isn't very good for them, but they have several events that they could very easily medal in. And overall, I think that, again, they very well could push for top 5. I just don't think they're there quite yet.
I I agree, and what you mentioned with block pushing and distance drag, that is the reason why I did not have them in my top five because they do not have really a clear marble at all for distance drag. You can try Blink, but she has such bad strength. That's kind of her one weakness, and Gaia just doesn't have high enough endurance. So I'm really curious to see who competes for them in that event. But either way, it doesn't seem like it's going to be particularly fruitful. And I do agree that this team, of course, when you have Blink, you're kind of always going to be in this discussion at the very least. I just don't really know what to make of their non-Blink events. They have some bright spots, namely Gaia in surfing and augmented aiming, but I'm just not convinced that this is a top five team. I think this is a team that will probably finish top half, but I don't expect them to get much more than that. But as you said, never count this team out, of course.
And depending on how much strength actually matters in distance drag, Blink could end up placing top half, probably not super high because that is a very big crutch there, but they could do all right. We just don't know how much it impacts them yet.
That is a good point because Blank does very much have the endurance and certainly the off-roading. I would be shocked if she is not the highest off-roading marble in the entire field. So if that is a pivotal stat for this, yeah, I could totally agree. I'm just going off of what I know right now, and it's
Yeah.
not looking particularly great for Blank, but time will tell.
Enough. All right, who's your next honorable mention?
I'm fairly certain it will be the same honorable mention that you have, and that is, of course, the Icy Hots. This team is just kind of the pinnacle of consistency. They don't have any true gutter ball events except for maybe diving, but I don't expect it to be that bad. And this team, Vertigo, one of the better speedsters in the league, even if I don't think he's elite at that anymore, he is still definitely one of the better ones in the league. Nova has quickly turned the corner from marble of the future for this team into marble of the present. Offseason acquisition Zix is going to play a pivotal role. And first round pick Burnwood looks quite good out of the gate. And of course, you've got reliable Captain Lumen, just a very well balanced team. And I think a very underrated pickup for this team was Mesmer, I believe, late round 3 in the draft. Mesmer plays a rather important role for this team. I'm assuming, will play Tri-Event Trials and will be fantastic for that event. It was a very much a marble that not many had super high expectations for, and that might be the only event they do all season, but I think it was a great pickup.
Mesmer was very interesting. I did not expect them to go like at all. I didn't expect them to get picked. But as you said, very good for Tri Event, which Ices were not good for before that. But that's gonna very much boost them there. My one concern with this team is Nova plays I have them projected to play 5 of the last 8 events, which is a decent amount for fatigue, but that is diving, break, 3 straight break, and then try event. So they won't play the last one. That will help with fatigue there. But yeah, as you said, this is another very, very solid team. Good choice for your next honorable mention slot there.
I will chime in and say I also have Nova competing in many events this season. I believe 8 in total. I have them in 7. That's a lie. I have them in 7, but I do have a fatigue problem for them in the second half.
Mm.
I just don't think that no I think Nova is replaceable for some of the events that they're going to miss out on, namely probably Maze Run. I think they're replaceable for. You can take them out of relay if you really need to and put like Jasper at anchor, so I don't think that they're going to miss Nova too badly in the events that they'll miss. And I can't say the same about some other teams that run into fatigue problems. So that's why I'm not too concerned.
Fair enough. My next team here is actually not the Ices. I do, in fact, have them in my top 5, though just barely. It is Klaus, which I believe you had ranked higher in your rankings
I
last
have
I
them
heard.
ranked. Well, I will not spoil. I will
Yeah, you
not
won't spoil
spoil,
yet, but
but I very much have them in my top 5.
they're top 5. So yeah, Klaus I have projected to finish just 4 points behind the Icy Hots, which is not a lot. That could very easily be swung by one event. The big issue I have with Klaus is Axel playing 8 events, or I mean, they're probably going to play slightly less due to just fatigue and putting in someone else. They are kind of replaceable for diving. You could throw Jinsu in there to give them a break, but yeah, Axel plays a lot of events, which is a very negative for them. Positive, they have a lot of very consistent finishes. They are projected top half in, I believe, half of the events, and most of the rest of the events they're like top 10. So Klaus don't have a ton of superb finishes, but they also don't have anything bad, and that's just gonna put them just outside my top 5.
If I'm being honest, I kind of have the opposite report on them. First of all, referring to Axel, what you said about Axel, I have them competing in 6 events and 7 if you account a tie in aiming with Magnum, but I expect Magnum to compete in that. And Klaus, the reason why I say I think I have the opposite report as you do, I have them medaling in 4 events, which is tied with another team we'll get to later for the second most in the entire league in block pushing, diving, maze run, and of course, big tower. I think Axel They may be fatigued for distance drag, but even then, distance drag is like not their best event by any means. And they'll almost certainly be fully rested for Big Tower, which is their projected gold. So I don't think that Axel fatigue is that bad. And even discounting Axel, Bedlam is going to have two near medal caliber individuals in his own right. And this team, for the most part, outside of the two speed team events, relay and try event, they grade out fantastic for the team events. That's why I have Klaus in my top five. We will get to where I have Klaus later.
I have Klaus at fourth place in both block pushing and maze run. Those two where you have them podiuming that I do not. So yeah, they could very easily get the podium there, get the extra 3 points or so from the medal boost, and pass Ices to get top five. But I just don't have that quite yet. And yeah, I did not realize that Magnum was that good for aiming either. I just took another look at their stats, and they are very solid for it, so could definitely play for Axel instead.
Okay, so do you want me to kick off with my top five or you two?
You want to go for it? Guest first, as they say.
Okay. So I will kick off with my number five team, and this is a team that I know we very strongly disagree on. But number five in my power rankings,
Yeah.
different thing from my spreadsheet, and I will explain that. I have the Night Raid. The reason why Night Raid, I have them fourth in my spreadsheet, but there's a difference. The big problem with the Night Raid is I had them projected on my overall podium for most of the offseason because I had a vague assumption that with free agency looming and with the draft looming, this team would solve their fatigue problem. And the offseason came and went, and it just never got any better than it is right now. The big problem is the team's super duper star, Verdant, competes in 9 events, including let me count. One, two, three, four, five, eight. Wait, no, that is incorrect. Sorry. Let me count that again. I have them competing in 5 of the final 6 events in the second half. And that's really concerning. Verdant obviously has Hardy, but that is like borderline injury likely territory. And what I said about the icy hots with Nova, I think Nova is replaceable. Verdant is not replaceable for any of the events that he's gonna be projected to compete him in. You take him out of Big Tower, you lose one of your best events. You take them out of Maze Run, you probably don't win that event. You take them out of surfing, and you're probably dead last. Verdant isn't replaceable for any of the events that he's down for. So either you keep him in and he likely suffers in Big Tower and potentially try event trials, or you take him out and lose. You have a 7 point edge over Klaus. And if you take him out of any of these events, is that 7 point edge going to hold up? I say no. So I have them in fifth.
Yeah. And fair enough with that. I have Night Raid just a little bit higher, but that is mostly just on the numbers, not counting fatigue. Verdant is very, very good for all those last couple events. So what they might end up having to do is trade someone like Kara or Citrine away to get a marble to replace Verdant for Tri-Event, Maze Run, Relay, something like that, because what they have right now is not going to cut it. As you say, Verdant 95 overall Hardy, one of the best marbles in the league. Well, you can't play 6 events in a row.
RCD, you do realize that Citrine has been traded officially. They will be,
Oh,
well, not officially yet, but they
that's
will be
right. Okay,
traded
I
by the
did forget
time the
about
second
that.
half rolls around.
Right. Okay, hold up. I gotta
I would be
check
more
to see what they were.
optimistic if Galestorm actually replaced Verdant for any of these events, but he
Yes.
doesn't, which is part of my concern.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about the citrine trade
I
effective
expect
after.
Galestorm. I expect Galestorm to compete in aiming, which does help, but how much? And
Probably
Galestorm
not.
isn't really that good for aiming anyway, despite 99 accuracy because their reflexes are so bad. So I still have concern for Verdant.
That citrine trade is effective after diving, correct? Or before diving?
Yes, that is
After
correct.
diving? Okay, yeah.
After diving.
That makes sense, and that is definitely going to help, but forgot about that. Don't have it on my notes here because it's current rosters and not future rosters. So that explains things.
And I will say that when I feel like I kind of dogged on the Night Raid when I was making that segment. I don't think this is a bad team by any stretch because Verdant is almost certainly going to be a most valuable marble candidate. I think Kinesis is at the very worst a top 3 speedster in the league. Orion and Tippy Tap are both great as well. So I think this team is really good. Don't get me wrong. I just don't view it as on the same tier as the top 14s. It's that.
Yeah.
Not that I think this team is bad by any measure,
I feel like the
but
baseline
that's all I
for
have to say, I think.
yeah, okay. The baseline for what is a good team has just gotten higher and higher. And like season 2 or
Absolutely.
something, this team just wins on the spot. Season 3, they might be there too. Season 4 probably not because Pantheon exists, but yeah,
Yes.
the this would have been a fantastic team, basically guaranteed title just a couple of seasons ago, and now it's like, oh yeah, you'll probably finish 5th.
Just shows you how much the meta has changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Will you has your number five? Oh no, I forgot. Icy Hots, you have number five,
I do
so
have
you can
Ices at
mention
number
your
5.
number four team,
Number 4 team,
unless if that unless if that is the Night Raid.
that is in fact the Night Raid.
I figured.
Yep, Night Raid, as you just said, good team, but verdant. I think that just about sums up everything that you can say. Good team, but verdant fatigue.
So you can mention number three. I
Alrighty then.
have a feeling number three and number two will be swapped.
Yep, I think that's exactly it though, because at number 3 I have your team, the one and only Team Fire. And what I will say is that you have done a fantastic job at fatigue management for this. I'm looking
Thank you.
at my sheet and my notes, and not a single marble is projected to play 3 events in a row. Not a single marble, which is really impressive when you have really good marbles like Electra, Scythe, Ursa, even Lifeblood as a captain, if they throw an individual in there, could be playing a lot of those events. But nope, everything is very spaced out, which is very impressive. I just don't think you're quite at the same level as the top 2. Obviously, very close. I'm projecting you to get 5 medals and just barely miss the podium on 3 other occasions. But Trivent and Maze Run, I have as your worst events, which is
Makes
not
sense.
great. I believe I have you 11th for both of those, and then 10th for Relay and Big Tower. So those finishes alone um, drop you out of the top 2 for me. If you get good RNG in that, or just end up doing well there, pure skill, and I missed something, you could very well finish second, no problem.
I will chime in and say that is, like, in my opinion, my biggest strength is my fatigue management. The only fatigue problem I could have ran into would be Ursa in the first half, but I have 4 other marbles that are all very good for blog pushing, so it's very easy for me to rest Ursa for that event. That's why I think that my team is in a very good spot.
Yep.
And I will mention, you mentioned you have me in 5 medals. I have my team in 4, but I have my lows a little bit higher than you do. I have my Maze Run 8th and my Trivent Trials 9th. So that is probably the difference. And this what I will mention shortly also ties in with the difference between my predictions and my spreadsheet's predictions, because this spreadsheet does not account for fatigue, which is one of my team's biggest strengths. So that is probably the difference, because if I take purely my spreadsheet, I would also have my team third. But I will get to that in a minute. And I do want to ask, because I am curious, what 5 events do you have me meddling in? I have block pushing, distance drag, diving, and elimination race. What's the fifth?
Let me check. Let
Oh, with Scythe. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
me check actually. I think it's very close with you and actually
Yeah, for
Western.
that,
Hold up. Um Yeah, it's quite
For
close
that event,
between you and Tamiko, I believe. So
for that event, I have my podium as Alpha, Dart, and then Hawk. But I believe you have Dart lower than I do.
yes, Dart is sixth for that in mine. I have actually Burnwood ahead of Dart, I believe. That's who is running for Ices in my
Interesting.
sheet. Let me check. Yep, Burnwood just barely above Dart.
And I will not jump to my second place team because that would, spoiler alert, be the team you just talked about. So I will talk about my third place team, which is your team, the Buccaneer Bounty.
Yeah.
And I will say you two have done a fantastic job this offseason, a fantastic job. And I don't know if it was because of my optimism I had about this team before everybody and their grandmother did that caused you to make these incredible moves. But if it was, then credit where credit is due. You have built a fantastic team. And the only reason I do not have your team second is because of fatigue to 1 and 1 marble only. And that is, of course, the best marble on your team, Black Rose. I have Black Rose competing in only 6 events, which is manageable, but 3 of them are back to back to back, which are, wait, am I looking at this right? Wait, yes, I am. I have them in, or 3 out of 4. Sorry, I have them in elimination race, try, relay, relay race, elimination race, and wait, I am not looking at this right. My events are out of order. Sorry, I have fatigue problems to Black Rose and Ivory potentially as well if you have them competing in diving, which is up in the air. But I have your team very, very close with mine. I really do think it's a coin flip as to who finishes higher because I think our teams are just so close. But Chipper, let's be real, it is a foregone conclusion that they are going to win hurdles. And I think it's even more of a foregone conclusion that you are going to win relay race. That is 2 goals when my team is projected for 0. It's just that I have my team projected for 4 medals compared to your 3, and that just slightly evens it out. But I think our teams are very even.
Yeah, as you said, it's basically a coin flip. We both have some marbles that play several events, some marbles that play a couple fewer events, but fatigue management is decent for me at least, probably better than most teams, and yours is
Yes,
fantastic. So
it's
that
just
does make sense why you put your team slightly above.
it also could be bias.
I
I'll
mean, yeah,
admit it.
that too, but always. So, that is Buccaneer Bounty and Team Fire in second or third general consensus here. Shall we announce the first place team together because we both know who it is?
Okay, I will say my projected champion in 3, 2, 1. The Motown Madness. Sorry.
Whoa, crazy.
Um, sorry, the jokester part of me had an idea there. Yes, it is obviously the Pantheon.
Yeah,
7 golds,
it's to be.
2 silvers. Do I need to say anything more?
I mean, you could, but you don't have to. No, that's basically it right there. Oh.
Fine, I'll talk about this team to make one and only one person happy. This team is going to win almost certainly by a decent margin for all of these events. I'm not even going to mention all of their goals. I'm just going to mention the ones that are not close, and that is half pipe, that is Trivent Trials, that is distance drag, and that is diving. 4 goals that I think are just about foregone conclusions. And then 3 closer goals in block pushing, aiming, and surfing. And then 2 silvers, which are in maze run and relay race. And their only below average event is low key and elimination race. And low key isn't even that bad for it anyway. So this team is just stupidly good. And the only real drama with this team, I think, is are they going to break the 200-point barrier?
That would be very interesting to see because they could very definitely do it. In the past, they've been projected to do like 160 points. I believe that was last season. I projected them at 154, and they ended up, I believe, just about 120. ish. So RNG definitely
Yeah, they
has.
they were lower.
Yeah, they were definitely lower than the 150 that it projected them at, which is normal. The top teams usually have a little bit of RNG not go their way. The stats don't always line up exactly with what ends up happening, which makes sense. But Pantheon's gonna win. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
The
And
only
just checking, 118 points they had last year in their record-breaking season. I think there's a very real chance they could break that in one half if they overperform.
yeah, very definitely.
Actually, wait, that would be six straight. That would be six straight goals, so maybe not. But you get the point.
Enough, yeah.
But that just shows you how ridiculously good this team is. The maximum points you can score in a season is 240, and they're projected for about 200.
Yeah.
So yeah, this team is going to win the championship. The question is, how much will it be by?
The only potential kind of ish downside that I see with this team is they do have the oldest roster on average in the league, I think. So if fatigue
Is
affects
that
marbles,
not the Thanatons?
it might be the Thanatons. Let me check.
It's close between them, but yes,
It's
the team
close.
is old. But this is a for this season and not long term. But
Yeah,
this team is obviously by far the best team in the league. It's
yeah.
not close. So not close.
Pantheon has an average age of 6, and Thanatons is 5.41. So yeah, Pantheon is actually older
Interesting.
on
It's
average,
probably
barely, but
makes sense because the Thanatons have some young marbles that they drafted. I do want to ask. I know this is going a bit off the rails of what we were talking about, and this is not part of our script. But if you had to pick right here, right now, one marble to win season 5 most valuable marble, it does not have to be on the Pantheon. Who would it be?
if I had to pick just based off of stats, probably Verdant, just because Verdant is absolutely incredible for everything. Um, if I look at a couple of other marbles, actually scrolling through here, Glaive is quite good. Axel is quite good for several events. Tartarus might have an outside shot if you squint a little bit. There's a lot of marbles that could make a bid, but if it's just purely based off of stats, Verdant going away.
I think I feel a bit lame having to predict her to win MVM, but I do have Blink because I think she will have at least two, potentially three individual medals, and she could also get some in some team events with her teammates helping her out. And I think this is, if there's ever going to be a season where a season MVM is not on the champion, I think it's this year because if you look at the Pantheon, they don't have any marbles that jump above the rest in terms of their expected results. The only marble that I think will likely be in a season MVM conversations for them is Alpha. But even Alpha is only likely going to compete in one individual. And even though it is a likely win in aiming, is a marble going to win event MVM with only one individual event to their credit? I say no. So I think this year is going to be a non-Pantheon marble. I do expect Alpha to be a finalist, and my other two finalists would likely be Blink and either Verdant or Axel. One of those two.
Yep. Forgot about Blink there. I was scrolling up the sheet and not down from the Pantheon, and it's in alphabetical order, so completely skipped them. But yeah, Blink is very, very good for several of these events. Hurdles they podium in, a limb race they just win on the spot. Big Tower they're quite good for as well. Yeah, it's very, very good for Blink. Anyway, this has been Full Send. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you Fire Marble for coming out and doing this.
And thank you for having me on here.
Yep, Fire may end up joining us again later in the season. We will see, depends on how schedules end up working. But for now, this has been Full Send, and this is RCD signing off.